Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at something new from If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, specifically the Interrogation of Rogal Dorn from 40k Theories. Now, Remlays, who's behind 40k Theories, has done a lot of work both in TTS and with his own videos in that universe, specifically Kitten's real name, which was a joke, but it kind of wasn't, and the Interrogation of Guilliman, who actually went through the person who would have done Guilliman's voice actor if things had gone differently. And just, it's so good to see anything new from TTS. I mean, yes, it did end, unfortunately, on a massively depressing note because the actual ending couldn't happen, and I can't bring myself to look at the happy one because it's not going to happen. So I'm going to take this win while we can, because goddamn, is this going to count as a win? So if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And let's get started. Oh man, I remember this intro. It's been a while since I've watched Remlays. I've been a little off 40k for a bit, but I'm taking an exception here because it's TTS. Even if it's just TTS adjacent, I'm taking this right here, man. Technically, playing the new Road Traitor. Although I have heard good things about that game.
Greetings, loyal citizens. It is I, Rogal Dorn, Primarch of the Imperial Fists and most adorable of the Emperor's sons.
It's adorable! Sorry, adorable! And they even have his, the freaking tech priest variation and the robes and... Sorry, just hearing the characters again, man. Featuring super anchors as Rogal Dorn. God, I didn't realize how much I missed that. I mean, I can hear him as Dor in Hunter, but it just... God, I miss this.
I've been tasked by a certain Lord Inquisitor Remlias of the Ordo Hereticus with answering a number of your questions. Boy, fetch me my appropriate documents.
Boy's back!
I
don't have the audio for him.
Now, let's see here.
That would have been amazing.
When are you going to tell your sons that you're alive and well?
Never. They are annoying.
This question is one I ask myself often in these darkest of times.
Darkest?
But you must consider what my return would bring. Those four abominations would find cause to once again unify together and embolden their own followers. As the citizens of the Imperium, my sons, and my brother Guilliman would rejoice. I cannot distract Guilliman, and I shall return when my sons meet the test soon to befall them.
Okay, so this is either set in a TTS period that hadn't yet happened, or it's actually set in canon, but we have the voice actors of TTS. I'm going to go TTS just because I prefer that. Also, really interesting note here that you can see the difference between the shoulder pauldron and the actual arm size. Normally, we always see Space Marines with their arms and the shoulders are huge, and then more Primarchs are more cut down, so it looks more realistic, but are like realistic to a human body proportions, other than the massively musculatured versions of a Space Marine. It's really neat to see just how much space fits between his arm and the rest of that. So there's a lot of power armor there, but it's just huge. One, he's strong enough he can still wear it. It's just really neat little detail to show how much of a gap there is. Just how much... I just realized he's wearing this as a vanity plate right now to offset the arm. Maybe it can just make it more comfortable to have the weight balanced that way. Neat little detail in the art. Huh.
One beyond a test of faith or endurance.
Because he had
so far gone
yeah.
to call it a test is simply inadequate and wholly true.
Competition is always healthy. Who do you like to compete against in construction?
We know what they're looking for. Perturabo.
A healthy rivalry can bring out the best in competitors.
But
I would cite Fulgrim and Ferris as they were upon first meeting. Certainly far before their will.
Okay, Ferris, I get that. Fulgrim. I mean, he did have the entire competition with Ferris about making the better weapon for each other. So he can, and the entire perfectionist streak, if aimed at creating something, would do a really good job. But this is going to sound weird, but did they ever interact? They had to have had some kind of interaction, but I can't think of any meaningful interaction between Rogal Dorn and Fulgrim. Ever. I have to be wrong about that. Huh. We'll probably get his explanation here. I don't know.
Known final encounter. Two brothers to craft unparalleled weapons of war. aiming to outdo one another, and at the final step, declaring the other the victor.
Yep, their fight, yeah.
I suppose you would expect me
competition.
to say, I would wish to compete against Perturabo in an almost expected manner. Well, I cannot fault you for thinking this.
Yeah, that's
I
where I was
can
going.
say that Perturabo, as he is, would provide no sport in the endeavor of competitive construction.
Oh?
As we would grow to see the same tired minefield, razor wire, ambush sectors, hidden gun emplacements, fort after fort, meter after meter of plasteel and concrete, etc., etc. If perhaps Perturabo was not cursed with his knowledge of all things, and his undefinable certainty, perhaps Perturabo, before or just at the start of the Great Crusade, would have been a worthy opponent.
Let me get this straight. So he's saying the reason he doesn't like Perturabo isn't because he's bad. It's because he's so damn good at knowing what's the best option that he's absolutely predictable. It's like, these work. They work really well. I know they work really well. I can do them really well. So I'll just keep doing the exact same thing over and over again. So you know exactly where you're going to get, which also means any iteration will throw him off because he's not used to it. On the other hand, it's really damn good, but it's also not very interesting. Yeah, so I guess the sport aspect goes out the window because it's like someone who plays the exact same hand with the exact same magic deck, and they just manage to reshuffle it every time because they're card counting, or they have an eidetic memory and they can remember every single position of their cards. They're just really damn good at always shuffling them back into position. So they're essentially stacking the deck, but they're doing it in such a way that you can never count on it. Because they just like, okay, I know where every card is because I just watch you shuffle and I know where every single position is because I'm bullshit like that. Granted, a Primarch could probably do it, but still just, it's that level of, you know what's going to work every time. I also know exactly how I'm going to respond every time because you're never going to do anything different for me to respond to. Yeah, I guess the competition aspect completely removes any interest in that. Huh.
Opponent for my legion and his to see about the building of the same fortress, or even different fortresses. Perhaps if the palace was held by iron warriors and imperial fists, the Horus heresy would have ended in the total depletion of Horus's forces against that impregnable bastion.
Dude.
But in modern times, I would perhaps seek a challenge against Guilliman. With the mastermind, he would weave a tapestry of supply and logistics to make even my head spin.
Okay, that I do. Sorry, this is going to sound really geeky, but I like the acknowledgement of logistics as being an important part of a fortification, because having a great wall is amazing. Having a great wall that you've let go to shit, not so much. Or there's a few different things I could put out there, but that'd be very French, and I'm not going to do that. More importantly, just, yes, well-stocked people. If you have enough guns, if you have enough emplacement, if you have enough way to get resources there, it does have a quality all its own, just making things work well. I like that. Also because he's crafty enough to make it work within an internal structure. Dude, I wonder if there's a fan fiction out there where they basically had that very fight. Guilliman got a chance to build a world as a test and build it up, go full out on defense. Dorn did the same thing, and they just tried to break each other's defenses. I know there's stories where Guilliman did it to himself, and it was to simulate Horus invading, and that was an interesting story, but sorry, I'm going crazy on things I wish I could see. Oh, man.
Are the sons of the Phoenix actually your descendants? And if so, why do they look and act so much like pre-heresy emperor's children?
Oh, okay, it's a chapter, not actual Emperor's children, who would also be technically sons of the Phoenix, but a chapter named Sons of the Phoenix in the same way the Emperor's children aren't actually following the Emperor. They're probably following the Emperor in the same way. Yeah, just fucking names that don't actually fit, but they're doing intentionally.
I cannot say. As much tampering of pure Imperial Fist gene seed has occurred over the millennia.
Tampering?
Perhaps they are indeed loyalist sons of Fulgrim. If so, they are the noblest and truest remnants of that twisted beyond all redemption legion of hedonists.
Or not noblest, loyalist versions of traitors.
I like that more architectural aspirations.
He has architectural aspirations?
A passion worth fostering. The worlds Perturabo would have built would have shamed the post-pacification efforts of other legions had he been allowed to or driven enough to do so. Tragically, much of his efforts were spent in the mud, much due to his method of warfare.
That's actually one thing I wanted to talk about. Excuse me. More importantly, just they did so much in the Horus Heresy showing Perturabo had creativity. He made some cool little gadgets, and it was just in his fun time he would do it, and threw them away. Because that's basically that self-serving, I'm going to suffer, so I might as well enjoy it. You ever meet someone who suffers and they hate it and they don't want to suffer, but also they kind of cling to the suffering? It's like, this is my lot. Fuck you. You can take my suffering too, but I'm keeping it. Like, protective of their own suffering. It's a really, honestly, fucked up mindset, but it's where the entire phrase of misery loves company from. It's that. And Perturabo very much seems like that. Also, I personally believe there was machinations by the Emperor to make sure he fell, so they put him in a position where he would definitely fuck it up the same way as Angron, but that's more just my own tinfoil hat theories.
Individual Iron Warrior squadrons turned away from chaos and back to the Emperor's light. Would you accept them back?
Probably.
As we have seen, the sins of the father do not always carry to the sons. However,
sometimes
it has been 10 millennia of endless war. I doubt there are any Iron Warriors who are fleeing their dominions in the warp who do not have alternative motives for returning to the Imperium.
Yeah.
Hello there, Lord Dorn. My question will task even your Primarch brain to its limits, a question so complex that I will be surprised if even a Primarch's brain can handle it. Do you like toast?
In truth, it depends on the grain or...
Was that from... Oh my god. Isaac... Or Azek? Hazek? Alright, man. I see what you did there, hey!
In truth, it depends on the grain or starch.
Oh, even
most Imperial
starch.
agro-worlds rely on mass-grown starches and compress them into nutrient bars. Proper bread, as you might know it, toasted, can be delicious if done right.
But... they wouldn't really have that
Lord
option.
Praetorian of Terra. I know this question might sound beneath your wisdom, but I must ask. Which plastic blocks are superior for building non-combat simulated fortresses for children? Lego or Pretex?
Okay, 1. Angerous Angel. Hey. 2. I don't know what Pretex is, but anything that competes with Lego, 1. Cool. 2. Ooh, those are fighting words.
After careful consideration and reviewing relevant data, I would have to say
Pretex?
Lego.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow,
most
that was
exalted
definitive.
Primarch. When the excrement hits the fan, when the center cannot hold, when the chips are down and there isn't enough to cover the wager, when
Why does this sound really familiar? I'm pretty sure that... Oh my god, I just realized what this is. They're literally going through every metaphorical possible reference, every allusion made, every freaking metaphor about end of the road, it's the last chance, just going through them all. Chips are down, shit hits the fan. When things are at a head, the climax moment of a story. It's just all the variations of that. Oh god.
it's all or nothing and all is not enough. On the last day at the last wall, when the ammo is low but there aren't enough men left to fire at all. When all is said and all is done and there is
They're
nothing
having fun
left
with this
but
one.
to do and die in the Emperor's name, are the soul drinkers still your sons? Very respectfully.
They had a
the
question that
lost
was
Ithaca.
literally 4 or
The
5,
tragedy of
6
the Soul
words.
Drinkers is another reminder to all that even the staunchest defender can be corrupted by the taint of chaos. Yet even as their body mutates around them, if they remain pure of heart and soul, they can overpower great evil. The noble among them I would call my sons. The traitors I would call corpses.
Oh, I love that line. That line is so damn good because even though it's delivered in Rogal Dorn's very flat tone the TTS made you accustomed to, it is just so much of a declaration of intent, but it's also threatening because of how deadpan it is. It is not a crazy threat. It is just a statement of fact. If you are loyal, I don't care what happened to you, you're loyal. Dead is everyone else. That is so freaking good. I love it when someone can make a threatening statement without going out of their way to do so because it makes it more powerful, in my opinion. When you have to build up to a threat, you got to really try and sell it. And you can tell someone's reaching. But when you can set up a situation like right here where it's just, this is what will happen, that's so much more effective as a threat. And that just really worked well. I love that line. Oh, I hope whoever is writing this maybe drops Elphabus a bit of a line saying, hey, if Dorn ever has a moment, just steal this one. Maybe just a little bit, please. That'd be freaking cool, man. I do not see enemies. I see corpses. Which even works, because they're vampires. That's how we use them. Oh, sorry. Just things I want to steal for Hunter now. This is even better.
What are your thoughts on Barabbas Dantioch?
Don't actually know who that is.
He is a warrior of iron. He is no iron warrior. He may have shook his head in insult at such a statement, but considering what his traitorous kin have become, perhaps he would forgive me for making such a remark.
My Lord Dorn, I have recently stumbled across a heretical text which seems to depict an alternate reality in which the traitor and loyalist legions were...
Oh, the Dornian heresy. Dude, unless you're talking about the Rebootian heresy. There's a few of them going around. I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard it's actually really kind of fucked up.
...reversed. Most notably, the one to replace Horus as the arch-traitor was you.
I want to see his reaction to
Resisting
this.
my initial urge to simply burn the text, I have decided to have a copy sent to you to hear your
Did they
thoughts
actually send
on
Remley's
it.
full copy?
I have read this disturbing
You already
tome.
read it?
To see traitor and loyalist changed in such a manner unnerves me. What is worse to consider is that this is potentially real in some alternative reality, as portrayed by the warp.
Oh yeah, it does kind of do that. It's never really fully stated, but multiversal theory kind of is plausible in the warp, because everything is plausible in the warp, but also it's kind of not, and it is. Yeah, it's confusing, and I think it's intentionally kept that way, but it's entirely possible. Yeah, that's the thing. Also, if, so help me God, if they finally finish releasing all the Primarchs, both living and, well, I guess if they want to do a ghost of Fulgrim, because it's already been mentioned in the lore, they'll probably make a ghost version of him eventually. I mean, GW does ghost models when it comes to Age of Sigmar. Why not do Ghost Ferrus Manus? Actually, that would kind of make sense. Or like Ghost Sanguinius, which has already been hinted to in lore recently. They could probably do that. Ghost Primarchs, everyone! No idea how that would work.
Dear Rogal Dorn, Praetorian of Terra, there is a topic that I believe deeply requires your attention as soon as you are able to do so.
Also, I forgot my point because I got stuck on the fact they could probably do that. Previously, the Ghost Primarch one, I was leading into the idea that eventually, and I'm almost certain of this, Games Workshop will release Primarch versions of all of them, followed by saying, hey, the warp goes everywhere. Now let's get the corrupted version of the good ones and the loyalist version of the bad ones. And because it's an alternate universe, Horus lives and you can buy his model now. And I'm sure it'll be $100 per model, and it'll probably go up from then. And hey, if it makes money, you know Games Workshop will do it. And I would still buy it.
There is a chapter
Goddamn.
belonging to your gene line called the Excoriators. They are afflicted with terrible torment that came from your own most horrific moment. It is called the Darkness, and it's said to be a gene seed flaw that forces some to see terrible visions. Namely, you seeing the fall of the Emperor
Dorn's
after
Legion,
the defeat
or
of
chapter
Horus.
variation
Can you
of
please go to them and
the
talk
Black
to
Rage.
them? They need their father to cure them of this mental flaw. Vulcan once offered
Sort
you a
of
hug when
Black Rage.
things were so wrong. Sometimes a good cure is simply being there for those who need it. Knight Scion of the Ordo Theoreticus, Matthias.
I weep for my sons on this matter. Yes, I weep. No one, no being should suffer the grief and despair I felt in that exact moment of extreme doubt. Knowing the dream was over, it was unrecoverable, and all that remained was slow decline. It was almost too much to bear, even for me. But as I said, I cannot return at this time.
Lord Dorn, your brother Lord Guilliman had stated before that his dauntless few, a band of brothers and their respective legions alongside his own ultramarines, would be able to handle any situation and conquer any foe. Among them, he counted the noble Leman Russ, the angelic Sanguinius, the indomitable Ferrus Manus, and yourself. Pray tell, who would your dauntless few consist of? Who are the other 4 Primarchs and the legions that you would consider to pair well with your own?
I just need to clarify. Guilliman said this before the heresy, right? Because otherwise he's basically saying, I can take my brothers and their legions and conquer any foe. Also, I'm only going to take the ones who are actually on my side already, but seems odd. If it was taken later, that'd be weird.
My nephews are wild at times, but of them, my dauntless few would be Sanguinius and his Blood Angels, Guilliman and the Ultramarines, Vulcan and the Salamanders, and Corvus of the Raven Guard.
Oh, yeah, there was...
I can readily depend on each of them to act independently or as a unified strike force.
Dear Praetorian of Terra, before the heresy began, do you think you and your brother Perturabo could have lessened any bad
Probably
blood
not.
between the two of you?
From that guy.
Is, if he was willing to do so?
Not willing.
The major problem there is if he would be willing to lessen the bad blood. He would need to be capable of being wrong, and he refuses to accept that.
Yeah,
I
he's a
admit,
hard-headed...
I need to be less blunt in my approach. However, his sensitivities would make it difficult.
Oh, dear God, I just realized. Prior to the squats coming back, Perturabo was literally the mimetic space dwarf, full of grudges and easily upset. Oh. He literally was that stereotype. He still is. Oh, God, thinking this hurts my head. And we actually have squats back now. And it just... Does that mean we should be playing Iron Warriors as if they're basically space dwarfs, but the mimetic kind, not actual squats? Suddenly I just want to play space... I was going to say space squats now, but no, it's space dwarfs, which are different. There's going to be squats versus space dwarfs. And the dwarfs are huge, and they're Iron Warriors, and I'm going to stick to that one.
Lord Primarch Dorn, how do you feel about Lysander throwing the Imperial fists into a massacre on Taladorn in order to fight
Those
the
are
Iron
words. I don't know
Warriors?
anything about this lore,
That event
unfortunately.
was the Iron Cage 2.0 after all.
Wasteful.
Yeah.
The lesson was learned once, and blind hatred led Lysander astray.
Lord Dorn, what can you tell us about Malcador's personal history? Can you offer any new insight?
This is one of those questions I would love if they can get the official writers to do anything about, like freaking Remley's bribing the hell out of someone, maybe going on some kind of Patreon websites like, hey, if we can have funny, maybe we can bribe GW to do this. Again, GW, money, they'll do anything. It's a thing. I just wish for actual lore from a Primarch's perspective, dear God, that would be amazing. That said, even just in the TTS universe, this would also be really damn cool.
Insights into who he was?
Malcador was the man truly running the highest levels of the mundane in the Imperium.
Yep.
He was, in essence, the founder of its functional government and many organizations. My father simply conquered. Malcador ran things.
Lord,
In many ways, Malcador is the one, or his death is when the Imperium really went into decline because, yeah, he ran everything. Personally, I'm going to stick with that one, even TTS or canon. The Emperor did a lot, but he was more of a figurehead, which is crazy considering it's the Emperor. But that does seem to be how he comes off. Not so much that he couldn't do it, but that he was doing other things. Were also important, but also just other. Why run the I was going to say company or country. Why run the Emperor? I cannot speak today. Run the Empire when Dorn... I am really off my head, apparently. When Malcador will do just as good a job, if not better, and he can do other things that only he can do, because, again, Emperor. It doesn't make sense, and when you see a lot of their interactions in canon, it just... Yes! Kind of surprised they didn't bring Malcador back some way in TTS just to have that happen. Granted, probably hard to do that for the same reason they didn't do that with Horus, except for the one random dream episode that was just a Halloween April Fool's thing.
Dorn of the Imperial Fists, we here on the world of Colo 500 have heard odd rumors regarding your brother Guilliman and his, shall we say, close relationship with Yvraine, an Eldari witch. What are your thoughts on this, mighty Lord Dorn? Your humble servant, Governor Martin.
Strange times make for strange bedfellows, sometimes literally it seems, if rumor...
Oh, I love it. I'm sorry. I'm one of the people who would ship that, mostly because it pisses off a lot of the diehards. They're like, this is a serious thing, but also ignore all the crazy, stupid things. I like 40K. I like taking it less seriously. Because if you take it very seriously, it gets really dark, really fast, and really disturbing. And my tolerance of dark and disturbing is actually pretty high, but I prefer light and happy things.
as to be believed. However, I am certain that such comments are made by certain High Lords or other officials that have been slighted by my brother's extremely necessary reforms, making them redundant or shifting power concentrations away from them.
What?
If such claims are true, I would need to speak with my brother first to discover what madness has taken root in him before I drag him back to the palace.
To be fair, if you want to talk about madness in 40k, he can just point at a map and go, my evidence. And joking aside, considering 40k's timeline and all the shit going down, that would be a valid response.
Dear Rogal Dorn, greetings from the tomb world of Laroa. Is that what the Imperium knows it as?
Oh.
We from the Keru dynasty admire your
Oh!
fortification style
Necron.
and would like to pose a question from one defense constructor to another. Do you prefer luring enemies into kill zones, or do you prefer having static defenses all
Why not
across your
both?
fortifications? Overlord Navarre.
Linear defense is a death sentence, elastic or solid. You must adapt and take advantage as the battle progresses. Relying on one form of doctrine is tantamount to signing your own death warrant.
Yeah.
Greetings, great
Funny thing is, that's actually a very big hallmark of a lot of, well, military tactics. If you're in one place, you can get shot. It doesn't work when you have to defend a specific location, and that's bullshit in its own right. But 40k can do a lot of building up so you get around that. It still sucks because the old problem of, yeah, you gotta stay in there sometime, or get out sometime eventually. You can stress the timeline out, but eventually it always breaks down. That said, I mean, Horus Heresy, man. The end of that, the attack on Terra, the Golden Gates, everything happening there. Not the Golden Gates. I forgot the names of it. Whatever. It's been a while since I need to read those books again. Just everything happening on Terra. All of the fights that happened on the planet. Everything having to just specifically encapsulate that planet. Show that he's talking from experience right now. He can do it, but it is a death sentence. And if things had gone differently, if they hadn't had a decisive win, and if they weren't about to get reinforcements from outside, again, people moving in, it would have probably killed them just through sheer attrition. Granted, it would have also had different things because of other resources, but yeah, he saw that eventually things would have gone bad. Also, if the chaotic side had not actually kind of fucked itself over constantly, but that's different.
Defender Lord of Terra. We want to ask you about our friend ally, your son, Chapter Master Valrak.
Oh, hey, talking about
Are
Valrak.
you happy with your son? Skirp for Mingout Claw, General of Kadia Tribe.
I don't even know what that is.
Guard.
Valrak is a staunch representative of the Imperial Fists, and I could not be more proud. Though I have not
hope
been able
Valrak
to
sees
follow
this. I
him
wanna see
too
his
closely,
reaction.
I am impressed by his following and the effort he puts into his work, representing the Imperial Fists.
Yep. Also able
Gratuitous
to actually paint
greetings,
yellow well.
Rogal
I
Dorn,
respect that.
Primarch of the
And can't do it
Imperial
myself.
Fists. A question of relative importance. What do you think of the prospect of your brother, Robute Guilliman, and Yvraine of the Inari becoming a couple?
Depends on who's
This
writing it.
again. See prior response. I have no time to deal with gossip mongers.
I wish this was actually a thing. And honestly, if they established a Ynnari empire, put Yvraine in front, it would even make sense in human terms to marry them together as a way to unite the empires. It would honestly go about as well as that usually does in human history as well, and set up a lot of coups and probably a lot of civil war and a lot of people who don't like it and will try and kill him. But it's 40k, so that happens anyways. But it makes sense in a very much practical sense of here empire, their empire. Enemies everywhere else. Fuck them first. Does it work? No. But it does eventually happen. Just look at these countries like Great Britain, where that's basically what happened. And everything you can think about how there was never anyone who complained about that. I'm not thinking about the troubles in Ireland at all.
There. That seems to be the last of them. I
Aw.
trust your peculiar questions were answered in a satisfactory degree. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to fortify this position. Farewell, citizens.
Aww. Okay, full honesty. I just really wanted to hear these characters in this voice again, because even if I'm pretty sure it's more in canon timeline, working in that side, and not the TTS timeline. I'm taking it because they made a point, Remlays made a point to get the voice actor for Dorn, for Dor, and pull him in here to reprise his role, and goddamn is it fun to hear that again. Referencing how he's the most adorable, so even if it might be set canon, it's very much aware that it'll be interpreted as TTS canon, and even just for a small taste, I am fine with that. Oh, also, it's just really fun to see his entire impressions, and I think this is probably close to, at least as far as the TTS canon built up Rogal Dorn, how he would answer that way. Canon himself, I don't know. It depends on the author. It really does depend. Every Primarch is very different depending on who writes them. But at least Dorn, based on TTS canon, this sounds accurate, and I just like this. Also, I would love if they had ever got around to bringing back Guilliman, just for the Yvraine aspects and all of the crazy shit they could have done there. I would have loved to see that. Yeah, and I just made myself sad because I know that'll never happen. Yeah. Either way, though, it was a fun ride. And, hey, Hunter the Parenting's still going, so it's not like it's completely gone. It's a spiritual successor, and goddamn is it funny as hell. So if you haven't already, don't forget it. Link below. Cannot speak today. Link below, that's the word. Hit it up. And we're done. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if anyone else has any TTS adjacent things to come out, or if there's anything from Hunter I've missed. Let me know, because there's just a lot of cool shit out there, and I love finding out about it. Also, I'm terrible about finding it myself, so I literally do rely on people to tell me. It is the only reason I knew about this, for example. I watch Remlays' stuff, but usually it's like searching individual topics and choosing from the things he's done about it, because he's got a huge backlog. It's actually really fun to watch. So all the same, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.